What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be out here talking about my pigs. I've had some people ask a couple questions and I figured I'd just make a video about them, talking about everything that you would need to know to get started raising your own pigs. We're going to talk about their shelter, food, water, fencing, how big of an area they need, what I feed them, and also who I sell my meat to, who my customers are, and just things like that. So that's what's going to be packed into this video. To give anyone who is new here a little bit of context, my name is Ryan. I'm 16. I've raised several batches of pigs. I've been doing it for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. So I feel like I have plenty of knowledge to be able to bring this video to you guys and hopefully help a couple people out, maybe help a couple people get started raising their own pigs. One very important thing that you're going to need whenever you start raising your own pigs is a feeder. You're going to want a good solid feeder, one that is very heavy duty, that they won't be able to destroy. They're very destructive animals and will tear up things very quickly and very easily. You're going to want something that can keep the feed dry. Obviously, you don't want your feed to get wet and mold. Whenever I first started, I had a 55-gallon barrel, cut it in half, and that is what I fed my pigs in. It made like a half moon shape, and I dumped the feed in there. It worked okay till they got big. Then they started wasting a lot of feed, and I realized that for me, that really wasn't going to work. It worked okay for my first couple batches of pigs, but it was pretty inefficient if you ask me. Then I decided to make this wooden feeder. We built it, and they destroyed it pretty quickly. It didn't last very long at all. So after that, we started looking online, found this stainless steel feeder. I think it is 10 inches wide, maybe 12 inches, and then it is 6 feet long. And if you come look down here, it has like that trough down in there, and then it has a sloped back. It's a rectangle up top, so it can hold a lot of feed. There's a look at it from the inside looking down in there, and as you can see, it just kind of funnels the feed down, and then whenever it gets down to the trough down in here, there's like only a 1-inch gap that the feed can come out, so the pigs kind of take their nose, can root a little bit, eat some of the feed, but then they can't get too much out where they're just rooting it and throwing it everywhere. If you look here in front of the feeder, there is some waste, as you can tell, on the ground right there, but as far as I'm concerned, that's very minimal, and you're going to have some waste with any style of feeder as far as I understand. So I think that this is pretty good, and it works very well for my system. Moving on to the next thing, you're going to need a good waterer to keep your pigs nice and hydrated. They need a lot of water throughout the summer, and you definitely don't want to have to be refilling it all the time. And this is something that I really struggled with at first when I started raising pigs. What I had were the round black plastic totes, and the problem that I had with them is that the pigs were constantly flipping them over, rooting them, laying in them, and they really just didn't work out. So all that we have here is a 55-gallon drum standing up. Then you just cut a hole in it down here, stick this nipple through, and it's got like a little nut that screws on the back. And as you can see, they just kind of bite on this, and they can get water out of there very quickly, and it holds plenty of water for them. I raise 6 pigs at a time, and I probably have to fill this, I don't know, once every 4 days or something in the summer whenever they're big. So pretty good if you ask me, and it's cheap. I think I paid like 40 bucks for this system or something. You can't beat it. I've got a heater that I stick down on this in the winter, and it works very well. All right, now let's move over to a shelter. You're going to need a nice shelter, one that is very solid. That is going to be the most important thing. It can't be weak, or they will destroy it and tear it up very quickly, just like I was talking about with the feeder. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy at all, that's for sure. All we have here is just some 2x6s and tin around it as walls. But really all you need for a shelter is just something that they can get in out of the wind in the winter, and then they can kind of get out of the sun in the summer. So I also have a misting system that is in here that sprays some mist down on the pigs when it gets really hot, and that will keep them cool as well. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Even a hose will work for something like that to keep them cool. Just spray them down a little bit. But it's pretty self-explanatory what I've done here. Just 2x6s, framed it out, put tin around it, and called it good. But if you do look here, this board right here is a 2x6, and you can tell right here they've chewed it down a lot. It doesn't have to be very big. I want to say that this shelter is probably 15 feet by 6 feet or something like that. And that is plenty of space for 6 pigs. You could probably get by with something like 10 by 5, and that would be enough room for them. All right, moving on to the next thing, and that will be fence. You're going to need a nice solid fence. It doesn't have to be too fancy, but it needs to be able to keep the pigs in, that is for sure. I have a hot wire running around the bottom of the fence here, and then I have this heavier fence behind it to keep the pigs in. This is probably a little bit overkill. The hot wire would keep the pigs in as long as it was hot all the time, but the thing about it is that this fence was here already when I decided I was going to raise pigs, so we just left it here, ran the hot wire around it, and called it good. I've seen people run just a 2 or 3 stranded hot wire fence and use that to keep their pigs in. That works just fine. You just have to make sure that you train the pigs with the hot wire, which is a completely separate topic, and you'll have to do some research about that if you want to figure out how to do that. If you're going to raise your pigs on pasture, I would just use a 3-stranded hot wire fence and call it good. But I do kind of like having the extra heavier duty fence back here since I'm in such a small area, and just in case, you know, the hot wire was to get turned off or something, I don't really have to worry about it as much. So I'm sure some of you are probably wondering how big of an area you're going to need to keep your pigs on, and it really doesn't need to be much. This pad right here is obviously concrete, and I believe it is 32 feet across. It's a circle, and then, you know, there's the little bit going back in there that I talked about for the pig hut earlier. But it doesn't have to be much. This is plenty of space to raise 6 pigs, and they have plenty of room. You can see they're all back in there. There's none of them even out here. It's not like they're crowded or anything at all like that. If you're going to be raising your pigs on dirt, you're going to need a lot more space, just because, you know, especially if they're outdoors, when it rains, it's going to turn to mud, then they're going to root around and stuff. I don't know how much land you would need to do that. You'd have to do your own research, but if you're going to have them on concrete, it doesn't have to be very much at all to raise them. And the last thing you're going to need for your pigs is food. They eat a lot. These 6 pigs that are out here right now are eating about 50 pounds of food a day. I'm going to guess that these pigs are between 100 pounds and 150 pounds. Some of them are obviously bigger than the others, but they're eating 50 pounds of feed in one day, which is a lot of feed, especially with the current price of corn. It gets pretty expensive. So what I do to cut costs on my feed is I actually mix my own feed. I have a burr mill and an auger and then a gravity wagon right over there, and I use that whole setup, grind my own feed. I just get corn from the local elevator that we have here. They bring it out here, deliver it to me, and then I grind my feed, mix it, do all that, and it saves me quite a bit of money doing it that way instead of buying it in 50-pound bags like we have right here. But if you are getting started, I would highly recommend just getting 50-pound bags and start raising your pigs that way, because it is very easy to be able to just have a 50-pound bag, throw it in the feeder. You don't have to worry about having any place to store a large amount of grain or anything like that. One thing you're going to need to think about whenever you are getting your first batch of pigs is how you're going to get those pigs to the butcher when it comes to take them to market. So pigs are very strong, especially whenever they get to be, you know, 250 pounds. They are very hard to move, almost impossible really. If they don't want to go somewhere, it's very hard to get them to go in that place. So what we did the first time that we loaded our pigs is we used a couple red gates like this one, chained them together. Thought we would be able to use these to corral the pigs, and it failed miserably. They were able to, you know, stick their nose through there, lift this up, push the gates, throw them out of the way, things like that. It did not work at all. And after a lot of trial and error, I've raised several batches of pigs. What we have decided the best way to load pigs out is to take your trailer, back it up to your gate, and do that about a week before their butcher date, and you feed them out of the trailer for 1 week. Get them used to going back and forth from the pen to the trailer. Then when it comes loading morning, you can just feed the pigs. They'll go up into the trailer and shut the gate. That is the thought process anyways. The last thing I'm going to cover in this video is where I get my pigs from and who I sell them to. So I get my pigs from a farmer down here. He has big hog buildings, raises a couple thousand at a time, I believe, and he is nice enough to sell the pigs to me, just a couple at a time. And the reason that I buy them from him is because, well, they're good pigs for one, and there's also no one else I can buy them from around here, and he is very easy to work with, great guy, and we really enjoy doing business with him. So that is why I get my pigs from him. These are Yorkshire pigs, and they do grow out very well and very quickly. That is for sure. You can get a pig from about 50 pounds to 250 pounds in 4 to 6 months, depending on what time of year it is. In the summer, they tend to grow a little bit quicker than the winter, just because it's warmer and they don't have to use their body to keep themselves warm and things like that. So that is where I get my pigs from, and I sell them to friends, family. So how it works is I will take the pigs to the butcher and then drop them off. They will each get a stamp with like a number on them. Then the butcher has their number, we have the number of the pig, we get the weight of the pig. And so let's say a pig weighs 250 pounds. I charge $1.75 per pound of live weight. So that comes out to roughly $300 per pig when it comes to selling them. And so that is what the person will pay me. Then they have to obviously call the butcher, tell the butcher how they want their pig cut, and then they have to pay the butcher fee as well. And when I sell them in either wholes or halves. That is how the butcher will cut them, and that is how it works out. So I think that is going to be it for this video, guys. Hopefully I helped some people out. If not, and if I didn't explain anything clearly, make sure to leave a comment down below and I will get back with you. And if you have any questions, I will try and answer them, as many as I can at least. So thanks for watching, really appreciate it. If you're new here and haven't already, you guys could hit the like button and subscribe. That would be great, really help out the channel. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great day.